Yo, say what's up to YouTube, nigga. Say what's up, little nigga. Yo, YouTube, what's up? What's up, YouTube? What's good, you? I'm gonna give you the real order. F what Kaya talking about. Yeah, so we got a financial literacy course, all right? Get them in there. Oh, I got y'all in there with the hooligans. Yo, Melly.
You are in here?
Yeah, I'm about to bring him. I got Rax. He gonna drag everybody.
Okay.
All right, bet. Let me go. Let me see. I don't got questions. I wanted some real questions. I got some questions for you. Hello?
I don't know what you're doing. I have no idea this thing works.
It's all right.
What? No.
Oh, I got you. I'm gonna turn my camera on. I got you. Hold on. We gonna help you. Let me turn my camera off.
Be working.
No. Take my hood off inside. Let me show some respect. How you doing?
Okay.
I'm good. How about yourself? I'm Jaden. What's your name?
David.
What's up, boss? Mr. David. What's up? So, I don't know if you know about Pluto, but your daughter told us you're a financial advisor. So we just wanted to have, basically a financial literacy course. So you can give us any insight on that?
Sure. I actually done a lot of that. I teach at NYU and at Rider, where I actually teach financial planning, as well as do some community classes, both on investing and budgeting. One of the reasons I got into this was I believe that financial literacy and planning can help make people's lives better. So to me, that's always been a really important part of my role, which is to improve people's lives. And what I found is that a lot of people don't really understand how money works. They don't understand how budgeting works. They get sucked in by the slick talk, and what I try to do is help people have the information to make decisions that are good for them.
I'm with you. I feel like I'm not even really fully competent in this topic.
Hey guys, what's up?
So what's like the first step to I guess I want to say saving or being financially like ready in a sense, like
I would say the first step, the two most important things, and I wish young me told old me could go back in time and tell young me this, is start as early as you can.
Okay.
The more time you have, the more time you have it to grow, even if it's a little bit. A lot of people make a mistake saying, well, I don't have a lot of money that I can't save. But especially if you're young, you have a lot of time, and it doesn't take a lot of money. You could save $100 a month, and over time, that could really grow into something.
Okay.
And as things improve, then you add a little bit more, and you'd be surprised how quickly that can add up. And the other thing is pay yourself first. And what that means is that, when you're figuring out your budget, make sure you're setting aside a certain amount for saving that you're not going to touch before you pay all your other bills.
Okay. What's a good amount? Is there a set amount?
Well, a good amount obviously depends a lot on your situation. So the only thing I can say is a good amount is as much as you can afford and still be able to live your life. Because if you save more than you can afford, what happens is then that money that you saved, you end up pulling it back out. And sometimes you end up losing money by doing that. And that's a mistake a lot of people make, right? They put the money in, they realize they can't afford to do it, they pull it out, they lose money, and then because they lost money, they don't want to do it anymore because they're scared.
Right. And I think you kind of answered it a little bit. I had wrote this down because it's kind of like my main issue now. What's the best way to balance like saving for the future and like spending like in the present? Like
that's a great question, and it's a question that people struggle with their whole lives. Eva's mom and I fight all the time on that because I want to save for the future, and she loves to travel. So it's something that never goes away. What I would say is that ideally, if you have a plan and know how much you can need to save, and you have a budget, that's the best way to be able to balance the two, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at least if you know what you need to save, that tells you how much you can spend on today.
Okay.
And if you can't afford to do it, then you have to decide what choices you want to make. Does that
Mm-hmm.
mean you want to risk having less in the future so you can do more today? Or do you want to do less today so you have more in the future?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. And from your experience, which one's better, or is it any?
Well, I'm a believer that you want to have money for the future, but it's important to not deprive yourself. Like, how everybody goes to the gym after New Year's, because they're all excited to work
Yeah.
out, and then by the spring, everybody's gone because only the diehards are doing it. So,
Mm-hmm.
what I tell people is when you're making a change, it has to be a change that you're comfortable with. Because
Okay.
if it's too drastic, you're not going to stick with it.
Okay.
Like if you say, "Oh, I'm super excited. I'm going to save every penny that I have and never go out anywhere, never order any food from DoorDash, not go to any concerts. I'm just going to stay home and watch TV and never go anywhere and do anything." Well, how long is that going to last? Right? You're
Right.
not going to do that every day, every year for the rest of your life. You might be like, I'll do it for a couple months. And then you're going to be like, this is terrible. I don't want to do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So then you won't stick to it. But if you just do a little bit, right? You say, okay, well, I go to Starbucks 3 days a week and spend $25 a week on that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I only go once a week and spend $10. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? That's an extra 50, 60, $75 a month right there from one thing. And does that really change your life? No. So if you do little things that you're comfortable with, that's how you start.
Okay. And uh what's the best places to put this money? So like I know there's a lot of savings and stuff like that. Is there any place specific?
Well, what I would tell people is it depends on two things: when you need the money
Mm-hmm.
and how much risk you're willing to take. And that varies for everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you need the money 6 months from now, let's say you're putting a down payment on a car or a house, I don't care how much risk you want to take.
Mm-hmm.
That money should be safe in cash, a CD, a bank, or whatever, right? If you're 25 years old and are saving for retirement 40 years from now, then that money should be in stocks because you have a lot of time for it to grow,
Okay.
right? So the idea is that, you try to figure out when you're going to use the money, and that's going to tell you where it goes, right? Because I can't say specifically what's the best thing because it's different depending on the person. But the idea is short term is really cash, long term should be stocks.
Okay. So for me, I got like certificate, and then I got this app I use. I got Marcus. Um, how you feel about those? Like, are those?
Well, the thing with the apps, though, and I know a lot of the younger people do the apps, is that there's nothing wrong with that, but there's a couple things I'll say. One is sometimes you don't even realize it. To do a lot of those apps, and they have things like I forget. I had one client who was just in one of these. Robinhood, I think it is, right? Robinhood.
Yeah, I think I heard
And
about that.
the thing was, and she was buying a little bit of stock from it, but it turned out that so she's putting like $50 a month in or something like that, but it
Mm-hmm.
was costing her like $5, $10 every time she did it, and she
Mm-hmm.
didn't even know that. So sometimes it may seem like you're not spending a lot of money or it doesn't really cost you anything, but you're actually paying a lot more than you think. Okay. That's the first thing. And the other thing is a lot of times people make mistakes. They confuse investing with gambling, right? So, like, if you want to be really aggressive and bet on some stock that, just started or startup or whatever,
They scamming you,
fine.
Kaya.
But that doesn't mean that you're really saving. You're just taking a chance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't. So, you kind of have to also think about if you're using some of those apps or whatever, is it something that you're doing because you want to try to take a risk and maybe it'll go really high, or something you're going to build a plan and save over time?
Mm. So it's mainly just depend on what the end goal is for you.
Yeah, I mean, and that's actually a great point. A lot of times what I'll tell people about investing is when you buy something, when you're thinking about selling it, remember why you bought it. What did you buy it for?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Did you buy it for something that you were going to hold for a long time? or did you buy it because you think it's just going to go up for a short period of time and then you want to get rid of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes if you forget why you bought it, you'll forget why you sold it, and then you'll sell at the wrong time for the wrong reason.
Okay. Okay. And this for stocks or just?
Mostly for stocks, but
Mm-hmm.
really any kind of investment purchase that you buy, you really should think about the reason you bought it in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Because what happens is that people then they either get scared and then they sell it too soon, or maybe they get greedy, right? I'll give you a quick personal example. Like after 9/11, a lot of the airline stocks went way down because of what was happening, because obviously, plane flew into the World Trade Center and freaked everybody out. But what
Yeah.
I thought about was, look, eventually the airlines are going to recover and people are overreacting to the airlines. It was obviously a terrible thing, but because of that, it was an opportunity to buy airline stocks at a lower price, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I did that and I bought one of airline stocks, and it went down a lot. But then, so I think it was like, I don't know, like $30 a share, went down to like 12 or something like that, and I bought it. And then it went all the way up to like 40 or whatever, and I got greedy. Okay, I decided to
Mm.
hold on to it. But the reason I bought it was because I thought people overreacted, and it was the price was too low to where it should be. But I forgot that that's why I bought it, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
got a little greedy, and then then there was problems with the economy and the airlines, so then the price kind of went back down. I still made some money on it, but I made a lot less because I held on to it too long, because I forgot that the reason I bought it was because it was temporarily low, not that I was going to hold it for a long period of time.
Mm.
So the idea is I forgot, I didn't listen to myself, right? Why did I buy this? I bought it for something in the short run that I was going to get rid of when it kind of went back to normal. I
Okay.
didn't do that, and then because of that, I didn't do as well as I would have done. So the point is that you got to remember that. So if you say, okay, I'm buying this to hold for a long time, and something happens in the short time and it's doing bad, like, I don't care. I'm holding it for a long time. If it's something that is going to grow and I'm going to hold it, so what if it's down? You just keep it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the point is to remember why you're doing something when you're making those decisions.
Okay. Okay. That make a lot of sense actually. If you had to if you had to start like from zero, like $0, how would you how would you maneuver to get where you at right now?
Okay. Um, well, the first thing is you want to make sure you have some sort of emergency fund if you have $0. Because let's say you start investing right away, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you have no emergency fund, and then your car breaks down and you got to get to work and you have no money to fix it. What are you going to do? Well, let's say you invested $2,000 in a couple of tech stocks, right? And it turns out that they announced on the news that they were going to have a boycott against China or something, and all the tech stocks went down a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the day after your car broke down. Okay, and you don't have any emergency fund. So what are you going to do? You're going to have to take the money out of those tech stocks, even though you lost money. Why? Because you don't have anywhere else to get the money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I tell people is to make sure that the first step is to have something set aside for an emergency. Maybe you can't fund everything, but at least have some money for an emergency. Have access to credit if you can't fully fund that, so that if something happens, you're not touching the money that you're saving for a long period of time. Then once you do that, then start saving a little bit, right? What you can afford.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea is that people get scared because they think, oh, I have to save so much. You can buy, some of these apps or mutual funds. You can save $50 a month into some of these plans, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, my cell phone bill's more than that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people make that mistake, and the earlier that you start, the better. And that's why I say you can start a little bit. And then what I tell people is, okay,
Maybe you start with $50 a month. Well, then maybe next year you go to $100 a month. Then maybe 6 months later you go to 150. And before you know it, you're saving three, four, $500 a month because you don't notice it because you don't do it all at once. So you just build it up a little bit over time. The people who have a lot of money saved, it's not always about being a genius or that they're super lucky. It's a lot of people, it's because they have a plan and they stick to it and they're disciplined.
Okay. All right. So just being disciplined and living within your means, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, and that doesn't mean you're not going to do things um, that are impulsive or that you want to do or spend money. I mean, people live their lives, but you just want to make sure that you either plan for it or at least you understand, okay, it's going to cost a lot of money, but that's okay because it's important to me. And I understand it may set me back. Okay, that means maybe I have to save a little more. I have to wait a little more to be able to do what I want to do with that money because now I don't have enough.
Okay.
Okay, that's all right. As long as you understand that, right? And the other thing I always tell people is, look, there's nothing wrong with, you want to go to Vegas or gamble or buy lottery tickets or all that stuff. Hey, that's on you, but don't plan your life that's going to make you rich because
Mm.
I'll buy a lottery ticket if like the jackpot's like $800 million or something and spend like $2 or whatever. But I see people sometimes at the store where they'll spend $20, $30 a week on these lottery tickets.
Yeah.
Well, how about instead you take that $20, $30 a week and you could save that every month. That could be, $100, $150 a month that you're saving towards the future. And that's guaranteed that it'll build money as opposed to maybe you'll get lucky and hit something on the lotto, but most likely you won't.
Yeah, that's the sports betting. It get bad. I ain't gonna lie. The sports betting get crazy.
But you got to look at it this way: if the house wasn't making money, they wouldn't have so many casinos and betting parlors, right? So who do you think's making the money? Like I don't judge
Mm.
people. You want to gamble, that's fine. I don't have anything against it. I don't do it because I figure it's a waste of money,
Okay.
right? Because the house is going to win. So I'd rather just keep my money.
Yeah, I don't gamble either. I lost once, and that was it. That was it for me. I couldn't
Yeah,
keep
like my
losing.
brother-in-law, he loves going to the casinos, but I'm like, nah, it's not for me, So I mean, I don't. It's not like I'm one of those people who like, oh, gambling's bad. I don't care, do what you want, live your life.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're gonna spend your money, and that's the other thing I'll tell people, think about what's important to you.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's things that aren't as important and you can save money on those things, like who cares which company you use for electricity if you can save a few dollars, or your cell phone, or maybe you can save money, commercials not aside, maybe you save money in your car insurance or whatever, right? Those are ways to save money because if it's the same thing and you pay less, well, why wouldn't you want to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's found money and that money can go towards saving for the future.
I'm with you. I'm with you. This next one, I don't really got questions for it. I don't know. I don't really got enough information about it. Can you teach us a little bit about credit, like how credit cards and all that work?
Okay.
Cause
Um,
I know my credit score, but I don't fully understand it. Like, that's
well, first of all, knowing your credit score is a good start because that tells you where you are. Now, one of the things that's most important about credit is, first of all, probably the most important thing is no matter what, especially your credit cards in particular, never pay them late.
mm,
Okay. Because if you pay them late, that can really hurt your credit score. And they whack you with all these fees. It's like $40 every time, you pay it late. So even
okay.
if you just paid a minimum, don't pay it. Don't pay it late. Okay. The other thing is don't apply for credit that you don't need because first of all, when you apply for it, what happens is that every time you apply for credit, it's what's known as an inquiry that can lower your score.
Okay.
Try to have different kinds of credits. So if you can have like a credit card, maybe a personal loan, a car loan, a mortgage, because they look at different types of credit, right? Um, the other thing is that I would tell people is this may seem like a bad idea, but if you have credit cards, don't just pay it off and never use them, because one of the things they're looking when you're trying to build credit is, can you manage credit and can you afford to pay it? You don't want to have a big balance, but even if you keep a few dollars on a card, like $25 or something,
Mm-hmm.
and you're paying something towards it, yes, you're going to pay a couple dollars in interest, but almost nothing. But at least it's showing that you're making payments and shows that you can do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the longer you have a history of payments that are on time, the better that you can show that you have credit. Now, what if you don't have any credit? How do you get credit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So ways that you can get credit if you don't have it and you're trying to establish it is, maybe you get a cosigner, like, your parents might cosign on a loan or a credit card, but they then become responsible. So it has to be something that you both understand and agree to. Another thing that you can do is sometimes you can start off with like a store card that may be easier to get.
Mm-hmm.
I can give you an example. My first credit card I got when I was 18. It was from Zales. I still have it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like for Valentine's Day or Christmas or whatever, I'll buy something for my wife or sometimes for Eva or whatever. And I still have the card, but it was an easy one to get because it was a store card. Or you can get what's known as a secured card. And what they do is that you have a credit card, but then they make you open up a savings account to kind of protect the money that's on credit. So it's almost like you're borrowing your own money. But
Okay.
as you show that you're paying it, then what happens is they'll raise the amount of credit you have relative to the amount of the bank account. So maybe it starts at $500, right? So you put 500 in the account and you get a $500 limit. Well, maybe after 6 months you show you're paying it, so now maybe you still have the 500 in the account, but now your limit's 750. Maybe after a year it's 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 6 months later they give you back your deposit. Now you don't have that deposit. And the key is to do that with also do it with reputable companies. Another way is maybe you get a car loan, and maybe the interest will be high, but if you put a large down payment on, most of the time they'll sell you the car because they know, okay, well, if you put a big down payment, they're not worried about you not paying them because you paid enough to where if they have to take the car back, they won't lose money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those are some ways that you can start building your credit.
Okay.
A lot of people don't realize it's really important. And the other thing is, you know, things like not paying your utilities or not paying your rent or whatever, those can come back to bite you because those will show up on, a credit report or a background check too. Like if you're trying to get an apartment or a loan or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what's like your relationship with like money? Like, are you like, or like, what's a good relationship to have? Like, some people are like I won't spend it at all because I don't ever want to lose it. Or for me, I'm like, where I'm at, I haven't had this much money all in my account at one time. So sometimes it's like I don't want to spend it. Like I don't want to lose it. But it's like I also be wanting to still experience life.
It's a big balancing act because, so, well, for better or for worse, my wife loves to travel. So I have
Mm-hmm.
to spend money whether I want to or not. Um, I guess my belief is that I want to live life, but I also want to try to be responsible. So that means, as my wife will say to me, I want everything. I want something nice. I want something um, that is cheap, but is still good. That I can get everything that I want. So the idea
Mm-hmm.
is that I'll try to do things or buy things and try to find the best deal that I can, so that I can still experience those things or have those things, but not overpay. I would
Okay.
say that's kind of my philosophy. And if it's something that I think can wait or is not a responsible thing to do, I'll wait. Like, for example, we just bought a, a new we bought a new vehicle, but it's not brand new. It's like, it's about 3 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and we needed a new SUV because the one we had was old and needed to be replaced. So um, finally, I did that, but I made sure to get a one that was a couple years old and get one that was a good price, so that we could be responsible about how we did it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or we take trips to Mexico, but we have a timeshare, so we have a reasonable cost for staying there, and we try to, you know, find a way to get the flights at a reasonable price. So the idea is live your life, but try to do it at a reasonable price.
Okay.
If you know you can afford it and know you can blow a lot of money, well, you know, that's different. But usually the problem is that when you're younger, you don't know that, and it can be too much of a risk to your budget, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm 21. I ain't trying to lose. I ain't trying to blow it. Like I'm trying to be set.
But if you're 21, the good thing is and I'll tell you, when I was 21, you know, I had a Mustang GT and I had new skis and I would go, you know, skiing and I had a brand new stereo and all this other stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, the car insurance was killing me. And, you know, yes, I got to go to skiing. And you know what I did? You know, when I got to drive the Mustang, I got to drive it back and forth to work to pay for it and back and forth to school. And that's it,
Nah,
right?
I'm
And all I
same
did is
here.
go to work and go to school because I had to pay for that car. The car and the insurance were killing me. Yes, it was a cool car. And yeah, maybe in the summer, you know, I go to the beach or on the weekends, but most of the time I was just driving it back and forth to work to pay for it.
Yeah.
Whereas if I had like a cheap car that just got me around, you know, that's money that I could have used to maybe save or finish school sooner, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just because something's cool, you got to look at, is it worth having? Um, you know, and that was a lesson that I learned, um, you know, a lot later.
Yeah. Nah, that's real. What was you in school for? If you don't mind me asking.
Well, I went to school, as you can probably guess. I went to school for finance and economics. My
Mm-hmm.
dad's an accountant, so I was always interested in that. But I always thought that, you know, learning about the markets and the economy and all that, I always thought that was really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the reason I became a financial planner is because I believe that I can use what I know to make people's lives better.
Right.
And to me, that was always very attractive about what I did. I remember one of the job interviews I went on, one of the first job interviews after I got out of school, they said to me, they said, you can have the mind of a capitalist and the heart of a social worker.
Right.
And I thought that was a really good way to describe what we do, because what it says is you can use what you learned to help people make their lives better. I mean, and what's better than that? You know,
Mm-hmm.
so I never did this to make a ton of money, right? I mean, I'm a regular person. You know, we don't have some big mansion or something or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're just regular people. And I wanted to do this to help people. Yes, I want to make a living so I can pay my bills and be able to, you know, send our daughter to school and, you know, have a decent life. But it's not like we have some, you know, spectacular whatever, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
we have enough to pay the bills and live a, you know, a decent life. But the idea is that I find it really rewarding that I see people who I've known now for 10, 15, 20 years and watch their kids grow up and know that I helped them be able to retire, send their kids to school, or be able to do the things that were important to them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because of the work that I did with them over the years.
That's that's
I'm very proud of that.
that's tough. You helping a lot of people. Like a lot of people in my chat right now. Like we all. I think the oldest person probably like 25. Well, nah. Now Lanicia up there, but we all essentially like we all young, just trying to navigate and
Well,
all
the thing
make
when you're young
smart
is you have the
decisions.
most time to, huh?
There you go.
The most when you're young, you have the most time to be able to save for the future, and that's one of the best things, and it doesn't take a lot. And that's the
Mm-hmm.
thing that I try to remind people. You don't have to be rich to save a lot, to save money. You don't have to start with a lot. The earlier that you start, the more time you have for it to grow, like is kind of where I started at the beginning. So if you do that, it's amazing how that can grow over time. But it's also important to make sure that if you're working with somebody, that you work with somebody who has your back and isn't doing it and is working for you, not for that.
Mm-hmm. What's some?
And if you
No, go ahead.
and if you're doing it yourself, you want to make sure you at least do the research and you're not get caught up in the hype of just trying to like gamble your money away and thinking you're saving. You're not saving, you're gambling.
Mm. What's some? I hear a lot of people saying like the best way to, I guess, get rich in a sense is to have your money like working for you. Like so, like when you chilling, it's working for you. What's can you elaborate on that or like?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, if you're investing, your money is working for you. Let's say you invest in something. I'll give you an example. So when you hear about the market every day, the market went up or the market went down or whatever. An example of that might be they have what's known as market indices, like you hear the Dow went up today or the S&P 500 went down. So you can actually buy like a fund that invests in the companies in the S&P 500 is like the largest 500 companies in the country, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can actually buy a fund that will invest in those companies, and you can do that sometimes for as little as $50 a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
So historically, over a very long period of time, that might grow about 10% a year, right? Not every year, okay? But the idea is that you put your money in there, right? And it's growing. And what they mean by it working for you is that money's growing by itself. You're not touching it, right? You let the if it grows, the money goes to buy more shares of that fund or stock or whatever, and it grows over time, right? So the idea is that when you're earning money, right, you're working to earn money, so you have extra money. But the idea when your money's working for you is the idea that it's growing by itself. It's producing growth or producing income over time. Or maybe when you have more money or you get more sophisticated, maybe you buy, say, real estate. You have people who you own maybe a rental property or a shopping center, an office or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now somebody who's living there paying rent, right? We own a couple rental properties, for example, and it's not easy. That I won't get into all that,
All right.
but the idea is that by owning them, somebody else is paying your mortgage for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the goal, like for example, for us, is not necessarily to make a huge amount of money in the rental properties, but at least to make enough to pay the bill. So here's what happens. The money is working for you because somebody else is essentially paying your mortgage, right?
Right.
So eventually it's basically like getting a free house because somebody else is paying for it.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, you have to fix it and deal with the ag and all that, but at the end of the day, you'll have a free house because somebody else is basically paying for it, right? Or when you have an investment portfolio, it grows by itself because the growth of it is buying more shares or it's going up in value over time. So that's what they mean by having your money work for you,
Okay.
right? Because if you're just earning a salary, right, you have what you make, you pay the taxes out of it, and then you spend it all, and you don't necessarily, if you don't save any of it, well, you're not really getting anywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just have your income, you have your bills, and then when you stop working, well, then if you don't have anything saved, it's going to be tough to retire.
Nah, that's true. Would
So that's
you
kind of the idea.
would you say like real estate is something that everybody should get into, like as a good form of passive income, or
Well,
it's to each his own?
I think that it's good to have different types of investing. So I think that real estate is a good thing to get into besides um, traditional investments. But here's the thing: you need to know what you're getting into.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be prepared to deal with what that means, and you also got to make sure you don't overpay. And right now, um, that's not easy to do because right now you'd either overpay for the property or overpay for the loan
Mm-hmm.
because property is expensive right now and interest rates are expensive right now. So it has to be the right situation. So it can work, but if you're not like they have these commercials, oh, I'll make all this money in real estate. Well, yeah, you can, okay, but you also have to understand that it's not as easy as it looks on those commercials, okay. Like I said, we own some rental properties, but sometimes that means I've been there on the weekends dealing with problems because I can't get anybody to help me, or I've had problems with tenants, and then I have to deal with whatever it costs or the amount of time or the stress in taking care of it. So that's not always easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
And you also have to decide how involved you're going to be. Are you going to have other people do all the work? You're going to do some of the work yourself? Are you going to have someone manage the property? You're going to manage it yourself? Do you have enough money to pay if the tenants don't pay you, or the property needs work? Those are all things that people don't always think about when they're investing. Now, there's other ways to invest in real estate, okay, besides owning the property yourself. But owning the property yourself often is one of the ways that you could really build more wealth for yourself if you're willing to deal with what comes with it.
Okay. All right. I got like two more questions. What's your like, or what's a good percentage of, so when you get your money or when you get paid, this percent goes here, this percent goes here, this percent goes here. Like, what's a good? You gotta do you live by a breakdown or?
A good percentage, usually, especially when you're younger, is to start with about 10% of what you make off the top. So let's say you make, just to keep the math simple, let's say you make $1,000 a week, right? Okay. If you can, right, take that 10%, $100, and start saving that. But one of the things that I'll say is get the free money.
Okay.
You like free money?
I do.
Who doesn't like free money?
I love free money. I ain't gonna lie. I
Okay,
love free
like
money.
Free money too, right? Now, free money that's legal. But I'm going to give you an example of a big mistake a lot of people make. Okay, most people, when they get once they get their first job, like first real job, not necessarily saying you're working as a bartender or busboy or whatever. I've done all those things too. Okay, but you get your first job, and so they have a retirement plan usually, and that may be called, say, if you've ever heard the term, 401k plan, right?
Okay.
Okay. And what will happen is they'll want the employees to participate, and a lot of the younger employees in particular won't want to put money in because they're worried about other bills they have to pay, right? Okay. Well, most of those plans, the employer will match the money that you put in up to a certain amount.
Yeah.
So what I tell people, yeah, because they're usually required to do that. It's called what's known as a safe harbor plan. It means that they have to put money in for the employees so that the higher ups can also put money in and get money out of the plan too. So if they don't put money in for the employees, the higher ups can't put money in. It's more complicated than that, but that's the general idea, right? So let's say, and on average, it's usually about 3% of what you put in. So the way it might work is like maybe the first 2% of your income, they'll match 100%, and maybe the next 2% they'll match 50%. So I'll give you an example in numbers. Okay. So let's say you're making 1,000 a week, right? So 2% of your income is what? $20 a week, right? Okay. So they'll match that $20, and then maybe the next $20 they'll match $10. Okay, and then above that they won't match it, right? But what people will do is they'll say, I don't have the money to put in this plan, so I won't put anything in this plan. And here's the way to look at it. That's silly for two reasons. One, the money that you put in that plan will save you money on taxes now, okay? And if your company is matching it, meaning they're giving you free money for putting it in, okay, let's say you can't afford to put in more than that $40 a week towards the plan, right? Okay, but at least put in the amount that they're going to match because you take the free money, right? So maybe you don't put more in above what they give you, but at least if they're going to match what you put in your plan, at least put that in. Get the free money. Free money is good, right? So people make that mistake where they don't take the free money, and that's a big mistake. And the other reason is, remember, if you're young, you can be super aggressive. You let that money grow. So the earlier you start, the less you have to save later. So those are two good rules that I would tell people just starting out, right?
Okay. I didn't know they did that. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't know they did
Yeah,
that.
most plans through employer will have some sort of match. Okay. And so you want to take advantage of that.
Do they tell you that, or you gotta ask them? Because there's a lot of stuff employers won't tell you, but you.
Well, they might not tell you, but they'll give you a booklet or send you to the website where it'll have that information. They're required to provide that information. How they give it to you, like some of them, they may not have the time. Some employers will have somebody come in who represents the company that's administering the plan. We do this sometimes for some of our clients, for example, and they'll have a meeting with the employees, and that person will explain it to them. Sometimes, depending on the company, maybe they'll have someone from HR do it, whatever, right? But usually they should have somebody who explains how that works. By law, they're required to do that. They're supposed to have a meeting to explain that and explain that to the employees. But that doesn't mean that they tell you every detail. It might just mean that they say, okay, here's the information and here's how it works, and now you figure it out. Right?
Yeah, that seemed like real life. That's after high school is literally just the information. Do what you.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, they feel they don't really learn a lot about this. And the other thing I would say is, remember, money is just a tool to get you what you want. So money in itself has no real value. It's what you can do with it, right?
Right.
So what I tell people is, remember, when you're thinking about saving money or investing or whatever, what is it for? Because that's ultimately what's important, right? It's not for just to have a big pile of money so you can like sit on it, like, if you watch the Lord of the Rings, like Smaug the dragon sitting on his big pile of gold or whatever, right? It's so you can do stuff. You can take that vacation. You can retire. You can buy that new car. You can buy the house. You can take care of your kids or have that big trip with the swag and all that. Whatever it is, right? That's what it's for. It's not to have a pile of money. It's to do something with that money, right?
That's real.
So that's what I try to remind people of, that you're doing this for a reason. And you want to try to tie what you're doing to that reason.
Okay. That was all my questions. I got a few people in chat that they gonna come up and they gonna ask you some questions if that's cool.
All right.
I bet. Yo, y'all join the court. If you got a question, pull up. We're gonna drag you in here. What you do today? Like, what's your day look like? What's your day-to-day look like?
But my day? Well, every day is different. But generally what my day will be like is I'll work with the people that I already have, and then also potentially try to get new people to work with, like new clients, right? So for today, for example, all right, so this morning I had, after I dropped my daughter off at school this morning, then I had a meeting with somebody who'd been a client of mine for a long time. So, and he's also a friend of mine from school, so we were just kind of catching up. But also he had, he actually set a lot of money aside for college for all his nieces and nephews, which was really nice of him. He was he's a lawyer. He kind of got downsized, but so I was asking him if he got a new job yet, how that was going, how he's doing. So we were talking about his life, and then we also talked about the college savings plans, right? So I spent a good amount of time doing that. I also was following up on some meetings that I'm supposed to have later in the week, right? And also some of the meetings that I had earlier this week. One of the things we'll do is we'll send out a summary of what we talked about, right? And some of the next steps. So I was getting some of that ready. Like I was doing some of that actually before this call, setting up some notes for that. And then also preparing for tomorrow. Like tomorrow I have, I was supposed to have 3 meetings. Now I only have 2 because one of them rescheduled. So I was talking to them about why. And it was just because they had the wife is a real estate agent, and it turns out, she has to go show a house or something at the last minute. Well, if you're a real estate agent and someone wants you to show a house, you do it, right?
Nice.
So we talked about, okay, well, this is what I want you to do instead when we meet. So we went over that, and we're gonna have the meeting next week instead. No big deal, right? So those are some of the things, and then also trying to get information together because we're going to be doing a couple financial plans for people. And the idea for that is basically, when I said, okay, you need to know what those numbers are. Well, how do you know what those numbers are? So the idea is people will give me some of that information. And what I'll do is based on what they have and what they want to do, we'll try to figure out if they can afford to do it, right? So that's sort of what the financial plan is designed to do. And if they can't afford to do it, then what do you do about it? What changes do you make, right? And then the next step is usually say, okay, this is what it looks like if you don't change anything, but it's not going to get you where you want to be. So what do we do? Okay. these are the choices that you have, right? And then you go over to different options and try to work together to figure out a solution that everybody feels comfortable with. So for a couple people, I have to do that now because they're getting close to retiring. So the other thing I was doing today is starting to get some of that information together for some of those people. So those were some of the things that I did today. And I also had to go to Eva's school because she's been absent a little bit, so I had to talk to the school today too.
Yeah,
So
they be throwing the
a
truancy.
little
You
bit
don't
of
want no
family stuff
truancy.
too, right?
Yeah, I had my
A little bit of everything.
I had my first real like financial issue like literally last month, like with school. Like I had to pay them back all the money. Like that joint was like so stressful. This kind of like how do you not get stressed by it, or like do you get stressed by it, or it's just like it
Everybody
is
gets
what it
stressed
is.
about money. I mean, so I get stressed about money too. But the key is to what you can't do is you get so stressed out you don't do anything.
Yeah,
You know, one of
I
the
was
things I
on
always tell people is
easy.
that, when something bad happens, no matter what it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's okay to kind of shut down when it first happens.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'll give you a quick example. So when I was when when I was about halfway through school, I was working at a restaurant in Princeton. And I had the Mustang, and I was making it work.
Right.
But then there was a bridge that was near the restaurant. And they closed it for construction for like 6 months. So you had to go like 5 miles out of your way to get around to it. So our business was like much slower, right? So I was making like no money. Meanwhile, I had an apartment, a house I was sharing, and I had to pay the car payments and the insurance and all this, and I had no money, right?
Right.
Okay. And I also couldn't afford to finish school up here.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did is, the bank called me because I was 2 months behind on the payment, and I made the mistake of telling them the truth, like that. Oh yeah, well I'm going to be moving out of state, but I'll pay you once I get resettled or whatever. So guess what happened? And I get why they did this. Like the next day they took the car,
Damn.
they repossessed it.
Yo,
Okay,
Chili.
so now I have no job. I couldn't pay the rent, and I had no car. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
well, so that day that happened, I didn't get out of bed. Okay, I was like, oh, what am I going to do? Okay, fine. Well, you get your day to kind of grieve,
Mm-hmm.
but you got to figure it out because life goes on. So then I'm like, all right, well, what am I going to do? Okay. So I started figuring it out. So it's like, all right, well, since they took the car, I just sent them a bunch of money. Well, I'm going to stop payment on that
Yo,
check because they
Slime.
took the car anyway. And I'll use that money to buy a cheap car, at least something, so I can get around.
Right.
Right. So, and then I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to I'm going to go to school somewhere where it's cheaper. A friend of mine's living in North Carolina. I can stay with him, and I researched that. So I started putting together a plan to deal with it. So the point is, whenever something bad happens, you know, the way to look at it is, one, maybe you can learn something from it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why did you lose that job? Why did that girl break up with you? Why did you not weren't able to the person you thought was going to become a customer or whatever? Why did that not work out, right?
Right.
Um, so sometimes you can learn something about yourself if something bad happens. That's the first thing. But the most important thing is, you know, and I made this my New Year's resolution last year with my wife. We used to fight a lot, and we still do because we're different people.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, we used to fight about like, oh, whose fault is it or whatever. It doesn't matter. What
Mm-hmm.
matters is what is your solution? Okay, you got the problem. So what do you do now? Not like the problem is going to go away by blaming someone else. It already happened. The bad thing already happened or whatever. So,
Right.
so focus on what you're going to do next to solve it. And that's the piece of advice that I give people. And try to think just because something bad happened or you failed at something, that's not always a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you can learn things about yourself from that. You know, because I'm a teacher, I have a bad habit of sometimes over explaining things.
Mm.
Well, that's good to know because I've had that be a problem sometimes. So I try to keep an eye on it to try to make sure that I take a step back, and, a good rule of thumb in our business is talk less and listen more. I know
Yeah.
in this case, you're asking me questions,
Mm-hmm.
but, I've tried to be better about that to where if I'm meeting with someone, let them talk, let them tell me about what's important to them.
Yeah, I be having that issue too. Like, I don't know if you can tell, but I talk a lot. So right now, I'm just literally just like sitting back and just listening.
Well, there's an old saying, are you listening or waiting to talk?
Now I'm listening. I'm listening. I'm really listening. You dropping
Evil
gems.
tell me, evil say I'm waiting to talk, but yeah, but the idea is that, learn from your mistakes, focus on solutions, and just because something bad happens, you can't shut down.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it's okay to grieve for a day or so, but then you got to kind of pick yourself up and figure out what you're going to do next, no matter what it is.
Okay.
Fine, if you lost your job and can't pay your bills, yeah, you're going to be stressed out and upset, but that's not going to solve your problem.
Right.
So yeah, you're going to need time to kind of let it sink in,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't let it sink in for weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to figure it out. Are you going to borrow money from someone? Are you going to maybe go Uber or DoorDash part time or get a job at WA, whatever it is, right? Do something to figure it out. Borrow money from your parents. Take money out of your emergency fund, whatever it is, right? Have a way to, you have to deal with it because it's not going away.
Okay. I like that. I like that answer. I'm not gonna lie. I like that answer. Yo, Fave, pull up. Pull up, Fave. This oh, there you go. Let me fix it. Hello?
Oh, hey.
Yo, Fave.
Hey, J Play. Hi. Oh, I don't know your name. I'm so sorry. I came a little bit late, but hi.
My name's David.
Oh, hey, David. Okay, so question for you, David. Okay, so I have a house. I bought a
Good
house.
night, Brian. Love you, mud.
Um, and I guess I bought a house. Um, and now that I have the house, I have the loan and stuff like that. It's not a high loan, but what should I be doing with my credit now that I own this house and I have equity and equity is cool, I guess. Um,
Equity is always cool because then at least you have flexibility in the future. What I would
yeah,
say is, do you know
it's
what your
not
credit
cool in the
score is?
moment. My credit score is pretty cool. It's like high 600. I mean, I had to
Seven.
refinance a loan, so it's a little bit low, and I need to pay my credit cards back. So it's a little bit low, but we're there. We're there.
Well, first thing I would say is focus on ways to get the score up if especially if you just bought the house because that
Yeah.
may be a way that especially if you want to tap the equity in your house at some point for something else or you decide to refinance your mortgage when rates come down a little bit, having a better score will help you get a lower rate. So the idea, and if you jumped in late, we talked a little bit about ways that you can help raise your score. But without looking at your credit, I can't answer that specifically. But generally, making sure that you always pay things on time, that you
Yeah.
don't
No,
apply for
Rocky.
credit that you don't
I'm not.
need, that you show a payment history on your accounts. Don't ever close a really old account. People might think, oh, I should close it because I don't use it, but they
Yeah.
also look at
I
how
don't.
long you've had accounts. So if you've had a card for a long time, it may be good to keep it even if you're not using it much. You know, so those are some things I would say about improving your credit, and
Yeah.
also making sure that you can afford where you're living, so you don't fall behind
Yeah, my
because
mortgage is
pay.
really it's low. It's lower than my rent of my old apartment, so that's good. My apartment was hard. Fishtown is, I mean, Philadelphia can be hard sometimes.
Yeah, Philadelphia can be expensive, especially also the car insurance and the wage tax and all the other stuff that goes with it.
Fun times. And then, okay, next question is, what are some high yield savings accounts that you recommend? Like I was looking at Amex, but I don't know. And then I was looking at some other things I don't know. But what are like the top ones that you
Well,
recommend?
Amex has one. Goldman Sachs has one if you're looking for high yield savings accounts. Um, Citibank actually has one too. They have what that's one of the ones I use because we also have a bank account with them, and you can. One of the things that's good about that is you can transfer it back and forth. It's called Accelerate Savings.
Oh,
The
I
one
have
they
credit
have.
unions. Are credit
Yeah,
unions better than the banks? I mean, like a regular bank. Should I need my credit
a lot
union?
of regular banks don't give you squat for their savings accounts. They'll pay like 0.05% or something.
So keep my credit
So,
union.
and another one, Synchrony Bank has a decent high yield savings account. It pays about 3.5%. Also, Capital One, they have the Capital One 360. You have to be careful though; they were a little sneaky. They used to have a different one, and then
Sneaky. Oh,
they rebranded it, and then they didn't tell people. And if you didn't go to the new rebranded one, they were charging you like giving you like no interest on the money that you had there. But if you do the Capital One 360 account, that pays about 3%. So those are a couple that you can look at.
okay. So
Um,
Capital One, the Amex, and
Goldman
Gold,
Sachs
Golden
and
Sachs.
Synchrony Bank are a couple that you can look at.
Okay. Okay. Um, that was it. Yeah, I just like I said, I just bought the house maybe in like August of last year, so this is
Oh,
all very new for me.
congratulations.
I just know that I have equity. I don't know what that means or what that is, but I just know that I have it. I don't know when I can use it or where I can use it, but I
You
know that
can't
it's
right
there.
now. You could, but
Oh,
here's what it means. It means that your house is worth more than what you paid for. So let's say you buy a
and I
house
did
for five
renovations
hundred
to it
thousand
too.
dollars,
So
right?
yeah, and I put money into it too. I'm poor. Well, I'm not poor, but I'm poor.
Well, if you have a house, you now have a house is a great way to build wealth because when you pay your mortgage, you're basically paying yourself in the sense that every payment that you make, that's a little
Wish
bit
I
less
saw
than you
it.
owe on the house.
I wish I seen it in my account, but it's okay.
The one thing I would give you a piece of advice on, especially owning a house, is, and if you're getting a savings account, that's good, is make sure that you set money aside because when you own a house, you're going to have to fix something,
I
Hmm.
know.
right? Whatever it is at some point, or replace
I know.
something. Maybe it's like the heater
I
or
have
the
to get
roof
garbage
or
disposal, $100.
or the bathroom needs to be updated, whatever it is, right? Make sure you have some money set aside for things like that happen.
Yes. What's a good security blanket to have for that? Like you think like 5K, 10K, something K.
I'd say probably have at least 5K set aside, but a good rule of thumb for an emergency is about 3 to 6 months of expenses. But another thing that you can do if you have good credit that some people do for home repairs is if you have enough equity in your home, sometimes you can get what's known as a home equity line of credit. And the idea is that you're using the equity in your house. It's almost like a credit card against your house. Don't use it
Mm.
to buy stuff. Okay, that's what one mistake people make.
Mm.
But it's not a bad thing to have if you can get it to keep for if you have big repairs for your home. Or sometimes, depending on who does the work, some companies will offer like 0% financing or things like that.
Yeah,
And as long as their price is fair, like let's say you have to put a new heater in your house, right?
yeah.
That they may have some kind of deal where you can get no interest financing. It just has to make sense, the numbers.
Mm.
That makes sense. I'm just a girl at the end of the day, so
Word.
Well, girls should know these things too, right?
that
So
is true.
So what
That
I
is
always tell
true.
people is, the more knowledge is power, right? The more
Mm.
you know, the less likely you are to be taken advantage of.
Not facts. That's real.
I feel that. Well, thank you for answering my questions. I'll
You
look
got
into the how you'll save and stuff, and I'll look into the other thing. I have to get a new garbage disposal, which is so fun. I never know how much they cost, but
They're not
I'm
that
looking
bad.
at
I mean, it's more the labor to put it in. I mean, you
Yeah.
could buy one at Home Depot, but
YouTube
it's like
University.
$100. But you got to have
yeah,
somebody
JPlay.
put
I'm
it
gonna
in.
start. I'm gonna have a flood in my kitchen.
That's real.
That makes sense. So thanks. I hope you guys have a good one. Bye, guys.
Safety,
you.
fave. Nah, that's real. I think I got Goldman Sachs. I think I'm not gonna lie. That's what it say when it charged my card when I deposited.
Yeah, they have some of the high yield savings accounts too.
Oh, okay. Join Mimi. Yo, somebody asks, do you like owning a house?
Do I like owning a house?
Like, is it better than renting? I'm guessing is their question.
Well, what I would say is it depends on your situation, because do you want to deal with the maintenance? There's advantages and disadvantages for both. So here's what I would say.
Mhm.
Okay, owning a house is good if you're kind of settled in where you're going to live and where you're going to work, and you're okay with being a little tied down, right?
Mhm.
Because the problem with owning a house is, unlike renting, right? If you rent, it's a lot easier to be able to move and change. Even if you had to break the lease, usually the worst that's going to happen is you might have to pay a month or two rent, because the way it normally works is that they have to try to rent it to somebody else. So as long as you take good care of it and give your landlord notice, you can usually get out of it, right? So, and you don't necessarily have to pay money to fix stuff or deal with that, because the landlord does, right?
Mhm.
So if you own the house, you got to deal with all that yourself.
Mhm.
You also have to have money for the down payment and the taxes and the insurance and all that stuff. So there's good and bad in both. So what I tell people is, look, the bad thing about renting is, well, you're not paying yourself, you're paying someone else.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're building savings or building wealth. So it depends on, can you afford to buy a house? Are you going to stay there? Is your job secure? Right? You don't want to buy something and then you lose your job or want to move, and then you got to try to sell it, and you just bought it, so you're probably going to lose money on it, right? But if it's someplace, it's like, I like this area. I have a decent job now. I'm going to be here a while. I found a house at a fair price. I want to settle down. Yeah, it makes sense. And the other thing is, if it's your house, you can do what you want to it
Nah,
within
facts.
reason, right? You want to paint the walls purple, you can. If it's a rental, you might not be able to do that.
Mhm.
Or if you want to, like, rip up the floor and change it, if it's your house, you can do that. If it's a rental, you can,
Mhm.
right? So you have more choice in making it your own if you own it. That's the other thing, right?
Mhm. Okay.
But if the rent's reasonable and you have a decent landlord and you're not settled, then renting can be a better solution.
Pros and cons type thing.
Yeah. So you gotta look at both sides. Like, what I always tell people is, there's never an absolute. One of the things I'll tell my students is, if you don't remember anything I said, remember this phrase: it depends.
Mhm.
Right? There's no absolute right or wrong answer. Should I buy or should I rent? It depends. And what that means is, it depends on your situation. It's different for different people. Should I spend money now or save it all? It depends. Should I pay off my college loans or put more money in my retirement account? It depends, right?
Mm.
So, as a financial planner, part of my job is to help people figure out those answers.
Okay. Okay. Situational. I hope that answered your question, Mimi. Hope that answered your question. Yo, Rax. Melly said he wanted to come here. If you could drag him. If you could drag Melly here. BTC Productions. Yo, Melly.
Yo, JP.
What's up? Talk to me.
What's good, Lee? So I just have one, not even one. I just have a few questions. I probably will have follow-ups. So, what professional experience do you have, sir?
I'm not sure I understand the question exactly. Can you be more specific so I can answer what you want to
Like,
know? Like my
what,
background, or
yes.
all right.
Your professional background.
So I went to school for my undergrad. I went to school as an undergrad and got a degree in economics, a Bachelor of Science in Economics. When I finished, I was looking at what my options were, and that's when I realized I was looking at, maybe looking into banking
You
or
feel me,
or the
Pluto? That's why
markets
I
or
looked.
whatever.
I looked like, hold
And
on.
one of the things that I found was that when I interviewed for a job in this field, I really liked the idea of being able to use the knowledge I learned in school to help people. So I decided to go in the industry and work initially as a financial advisor. But what happened is when I first started out, what I found was that, first of all, a lot of times when I would go out to the public, they would ask me, "Oh, do you have an advanced degree or do you have any certifications in this industry?" Right? And I didn't yet, but I realized the importance of education.
Max,
So
I was thinking
eventually
the
I got
same
an
thing.
MBA in
I'm
finance,
like, hold on.
okay, master's degree. I also have what's known as the CFP designation, which is basically a designation for financial planning. It stands for Certified Financial Planner, which is the standard for our industry. As I went on, I also have what's known as a CHFC, which stands for Chartered Financial Consultant, which has additional coursework, as well as CLU, which stands for Chartered Life Underwriter. So I have expertise in insurance. I also used to train new planners and go on appointments. I was also in charge of a department in compliance, reviewing insurance products to make sure they're appropriate for people. And I've worked as an independent advisor for most of the past 20 years and also trained and mentored a lot of people in our industry. So that kind of gives you some idea of my background. I also teach financial planning at
What you talking about,
NYU
Rex?
for the CFP program, actually. So people who want to actually get that designation, I teach that program, and I also teach a couple of undergrad classes at Rider University as well. Because one of the things that I learned is that a lot of people who do the wrong things, either as customers or as people in our industry, do it because they don't know anything. And I realized the best way to help people was to educate them, whether that be someone I work with as a student and a teacher or someone who's a client. So my focus has always been on educating people. So that's kind of my background.
I want that iPad, dude.
If you have a more specific question, I'm happy to answer it, but that kind of gives you a general idea.
Okay, so my question to you is, someone who's going upon chasing financial freedom by themselves compared to using a financial advisor as yourself, what resources do you offer to your clients that other people cannot acquire themselves?
Probably the most important thing that I would say is, first of all, a lot of the resources as far as investing in research or the markets or those sorts of things, you can do a lot of that yourself. So what do I offer? One is time, okay? Because one of the things that people have to make a decision on is, do they have time to do this and do they want to do this? Another thing is objectivity, because people make emotional decisions about money, right? Because it's theirs, and they also don't necessarily want to admit if they made a mistake
Hold on, Faith.
or if they should make a change or not, because they're tied to what they did. Okay. The other thing is people often get emotional and they'll make poor decisions like, oh, okay, the market's going down, I better get out of it or whatever. Well, sometimes that's not necessarily the right thing to do. So sometimes the best thing I can do is to stop people from making foolish mistakes. But the other thing is a lot of times people ask us for things that we don't even do, but we're still involved in. So the young lady was talking about how she just bought a house, right? Well, let's say you were about to buy a house, okay? You might come to me to say, okay, where should I put the money for the down payment and how much of a house can I afford? Okay, and I might help you with that. All right, now you're ready to buy a house. What do? Do you know who to call? Do you have somebody to get you a mortgage? Do you have a real estate agent? Do you know where to shop? Do you know what the school districts are? Whatever, right? Do you know somebody who can fix the house or do a home inspection? Or now that you own it, do you need to get insurance, or do you need to update your wills or whatever? So part of what I do is maybe to also help people find those other professionals that I may work with to help them do those things too. right? So the idea is that we want to try to address all of those things. Like if you ever look at our website, like our tagline is your connection to the financial world. And I always thought that was kind of cheesy, right? When I first joined the firm about 6 years ago. And then I thought about what it really meant. And what it really meant was that that planner is sort of that quarterback that's kind of touches all of those worlds. Do you need an accountant? I can refer someone to you. Do you need a loan officer or a real estate agent? I know someone. I know a lot about cars, okay? And it's kind of a hobby of mine. So if you have a question about a car, where to buy it, or like, is this a good deal? I can help you with that. If you need a new heater, I'm not going to put it in your house, but I can tell you, um, you know, maybe the way that you should finance it, and also maybe refer you to somebody who can do the work depending on where you live, right? Those are a lot of the things that you won't do yourself, right? You can look up and research investments and index funds or ask Chat GPT or whatever. But first of all, that's not necessarily going to tell you if it's good for you specifically. And also, you're still going to have to do the time and then fill out all the paperwork and make all the arrangements and deal with being on hold on the 800 number if you have a question. You know, who wants to be bothered with all that? So sometimes I'll tell people that one of the reasons to work with me is so you can avoid all the ag.
Yeah.
Because we'll handle that. That's the difference.
Okay. Understood.
I like that. I ain't gonna lie.
That was amazing.
You feel me?
I've been doing this a long time, you know, and the way I look at it is I got into this to help people, not to rip people off.
No, I feel you. I can tell. Me personally. Melly, you got another question, or you got?
Yeah, I just want your input on this. For a 18-year-old graduating from high school with $10,000 liquid cash,
Damn.
with an 822 credit score, what would be your best advice to take?
Well, it depends on if you're going to need the money. So one of the things I was talking about earlier, when you think about investing, is you have to decide what you're going to use that money for. And part of the key is how much risk are you willing to take?
No, Fave. This
what
BTC
is it for,
Productions.
and when do you need it?
It's not the same one.
Okay. The best thing I could say, if it's money that you can afford to not touch, right? And I don't know if that's the case, okay? But if it is, right?
Lanicia, let me get 10
Then maybe you put in a long-term investing, say like an S&P 500 index fund, which sort of matches the performance of the market and will grow over time. Like, people have to understand the difference, and I was talking about this earlier, between investing and speculating. Yes, could you buy one stock or something and maybe it does really well? Yes. Or it could do really bad and you lose most of your money. But the idea is maybe if you're investing in something for the long run that's spread out over a lot of investments, it'll do well. But the key is, can you leave it there? One big mistake people make is either they get scared when things go down, they pull the money out, and it doesn't have a chance to grow, or they put the money in and they need it for something else, and then they have to take it out. So the thing I would say is, how much of that can you afford to set aside for the long run where you don't have to touch it, and that you can invest for the long run. The money that you can't, maybe that goes into like a high yield savings or something like that.
Okay, on the topic of investments and high yield savings accounts, what would you recommend as a good high yield savings account that has a good APY? And as far as investing, what investment, not account, but like platform would you use? Like, what would you suggest?
Well, it depends if you're going to do it yourself or work with somebody. But, you know, one of the things that I was saying is some of those online ones like Robinhood or some of the apps, a lot of times people don't realize that you actually have to pay. Sometimes you're actually paying a fee to more than you think to actually put that little bit of money in. But actually, like companies like Schwab or Vanguard, you may be able to do it yourself and open those accounts on their website and start small, right? and be able to open and maybe buy one of their index funds or something like that. Okay. The key is also working with a reputable company. Some of the online savings accounts, and we were touching on that before. There's some, like, for example, Amex has a high yield savings account. Synchrony Bank has one. Citibank has an Accelerate savings account. They all pay about 3 to 3.5%, which is pretty good for a high yield savings account. Goldman Sachs has one. I think it's called, I forget what it's called off the top of my head, but it's sponsored by Goldman Sachs. Barclays Bank has one. A lot of what these companies do is they also have those, like, very expensive credit cards. So they offer these high yield savings accounts because they get the money from those savings accounts to pay for those credit cards. Right?
Through
Like
annual fees,
Synchrony
right?
Bank has a high yield savings account, but they also have some very expensive store cards too. Right? So they actually do, like, the credit cards for, like, Lowe's and Harbor Freight and Meineke and some of the other store cards. And if you don't pay them off, then they're charging you like 30%. So they're happy to give you
Damn.
3 or 4% on a savings account because they're then lending it back to you or somebody else at like 28 to 30%.
So on the topic of credit cards, and I know I'm kind of extending this, but I just really want to make sure I'm intaking all the information. Those credit cards that you were referring to, based upon the information I gave you, 10,000, 18, just graduated high school, the credit score, what starter card would you suggest?
Well, it doesn't matter what the interest rate is on a starter card because the key is to make sure you have a good credit score, right? But you also probably don't have an extensive credit history. So the other idea is to make sure that you have more types of credit on your credit history. So even if the interest rate is high on the card, as long as you're paying it pretty much off, don't pay it to where you don't use it once and never use it again and pay it off, because then it doesn't show you actually can make payments. But if you use it and pay it pretty much off, maybe leave a few dollars on so you can show consistent payments, that's a good way to develop a credit history. As far as, the cards themselves, it's key to make sure that you're not, like, getting killed on the interest. One of the things that those cards will do is sometimes people will get those cards because it'll say, oh, no interest for 12 months on certain purchases. But what happens is, what they don't tell you is sometimes if you don't pay that purchase off in full, every penny, you paid all that interest. I'll give you an example. Okay. Like Home Depot does this. It'll be like, okay, you buy something at Home Depot, and if it's over $500 or whatever, they say no interest for 12 months, right? So let's say it was $500 and you paid $498 of it. You're like, oh, okay, well, I didn't pay the last $2, so I'll have to pay interest on the $2. No, the way those work is you'll actually pay interest on the entire 500, even though you paid almost all of it off except for the $2.
What?
Because you have to pay them off in full, and a lot of times people don't realize that. And then all the interest for that past year at 28%, you now have to pay all at once.
What?
So, but as long as you pay it off in full by the time it's due, you're fine. But a lot of times people don't realize that on those cards like that, and they get ripped off. So the key is to make sure if you're doing any of those deals or balance transfers, any of that stuff, that you make sure you follow the fine print and know the rules. If you know the rules, you're fine.
That's crazy.
All right.
That's
good.
Crazy. That's crazy. And Melly, you got.
Yeah, I don't want to take time for everybody else. I appreciate you.
You got back.
Yeah, because it's getting a little on the late side, so I'll
done.
answer a few more questions. I definitely have some other work I have to get to tonight too. So happy to answer some other questions.
That was it.
I appreciate your time, sir.
Safety, broski.
Thank you so much.
All right, Pat. I ain't had no more questions. Yeah, he needed sleep. Yeah, I won't gonna hold you too much. You actually, yeah, I had you for like 30 minutes. You gave us more than enough. I ain't gonna lie. I really appreciate you, bro. Or I don't mean to call you bro. I'm sorry. I appreciate you,
It's
Mr.
fine.
David.
My daughter calls me bro all the time.
My dad, you on me for that. He don't like it.
Yeah.
But I don't think we have any more questions. Actually, I got one. I'm gonna mute the stream so they can't hear you. But can I have like your contact or something like that so I can reach out to you?
Sure.
Wait, don't say it yet. Hold on, don't say it yet. I'm gonna just mute it. All right, go ahead. Yeah, I got my phone open. You can say it to me. Hold on, I'm gonna cover it. Mm-hmm. 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 That's a bet. That's a bet. I definitely gonna reach out to you, especially like when I get more situated, because I'm still learning. I'm still growing up, and I know I'm gonna have some questions down the line.
Different from a lot of people in my business is I will work with people who may not have as much money. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of people in our industry will only work people have a large amount of money. And the reason that I will work with people who are kind of growing because I believe that those are the people that need the most help, right? If you
Sure.
already have a lot of money, yes, I can save you some money on taxes and maybe get a little better return or whatever, but you're already there, right? I'm not changing your life.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll give you an example. There's a young lady who was referred to me by an accountant, and she worked for Meta, okay? And
Mm-hmm.
she made a really good salary, and then she lost her job, okay? And her credit got messed up, and she had to move back home, and so now she's working. She got a job that's sort of temp to perm, so she's not making what she used to make at Meta, but she makes like about half what she did. But if she's made permanent, it'll be close to what she was making before, right? In the
Right.
meantime, her credit got messed up, and and she's had all these problems. So I'm working with her to kind of help her straighten that out,
Mm-hmm.
right? But when she becomes permanent back at her job, she'll be back making what she used to make, right? And then she'll really be able to do something. Who is she going to work with when she's back where she was? Is she going to be now? Everybody's going to come to her and say, "Oh, okay, now you're making good money or whatever. I can help you." Is she going to work with the people who are like all of a sudden they're like knocking on her door? Or is she going to work with the person who was there for her when she needed help?
Exactly.
Like years ago, when I had some credit problems, one of the cards that I tried to get was a Discover card, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they turned me down flat, and I needed the money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? I probably get something in the mail from them like every month
Now
now.
I get one too. I ain't gonna lie. They be sending
Okay?
it to me.
Goes right in the trash, man. Right? I don't even look at it. I said, you know what? And I'm sure they'd give me a card now, no problem. But you know
Yeah.
what? They had their chance.
That's
So
real.
F them.
Stop playing. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
because they had their chance when I need them. Where were you when you needed me? So my point is that if I'm not going to work with somebody that I can't help,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to work with somebody who doesn't want to be helped, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if I can help somebody and they're with the program or they have the ability to save or maybe they just finished school and they're about to get a good job but they don't know what to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are people that I can help, but they have to want it, right? If you
Yeah.
want to do it yourself, there's nothing wrong with that,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time, but if I can help somebody, I'm willing to do it.
Yeah. That's real. That's real. And
So
I really appreciate you for taking time out your day to do this for us today.
it's okay. I mean, I actually did a couple years ago. I was telling Eva I did something like this for CNN some years
Mm.
ago. They used to have like a show where people would send in questions, and at the end of the news hour, they would do this twice a week.
Mm.
They would interview like two financial professionals, and they'd have the audience send in questions. So I like doing this. I think it's a way to help out.
You
So
know,
if you want to do it again, and we schedule it, I'm okay with that.
we definitely gotta do it again. We definitely. You the goat, man. You the goat. You the goat. Come back up.
Well, check me out on LinkedIn too. You'll see my stuff and you can connect and then there's people that you want to connect.
Mhm.
You know, that's how the world works, right?
I just made a LinkedIn too for my school, so I'm gonna definitely add you on there. You're gonna see my profile. It's gonna say exercise science major. It's gonna say Jaden, and it's gonna say you're gonna see my full name on it. But I'm gonna add you on
All
there.
right. Well, I've actually have a number of students who are in the program too, so I've had to help them. And I know recruiters too. I do a lot of networking, so you know, I may be able to help you with that as well, and maybe some of your audience too, because I work with some recruiters for some of my students too.
That'd be nice. That'd be nice. I just want to thank you for coming out today. Thank you.
You got it.
All
right, sir. You have a good evening.
You too. You have a better one.
Thanks.
All right.
Okay. So just-
No, I ain't gonna lie. Yo, Rags, hold on. He definitely clutched. Yo, shout out Mr. David. Shout out Pluto. I ain't gonna call you your government, but shout out Pluto. And
Shout out Pluto.
that's our financial segment, man. Yeah, that's our financial segment. I hope y'all learned something. I'm gonna put this on YouTube. I did record it a little bit. Whenever y'all get it is a better question, but I'm gonna put this on the tube, bro. I got y'all, bro.